What is a 401k? It's a scam. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, whoa. Stop the presses. Stop the presses. I just want it clear. It is not a scam. All right. It is just a retirement option, right? There is an account out there called a 401k that is provided by your employer that should allow you some pretty interesting opportunities when planning for a financial future. But it locks up your money. You could use that money for so many different things. You should be better investing in yada yada. I'm not talking about that phone marketing ploy. Look, there are so many different viewpoints out there, so many different financial advisors and gurus and whatever you want to call them. I'm going to sit here and tell you today that anybody on any level, whether it be someone who's, a billionaire, someone who's barely out of debt, someone who's racked up millions of dollars in debt, whoever, everybody is just making guesses at what they deem to be best and try to use some sort of evidence to their point or to their ideas to make them feel good. Because honestly, nobody knows the future or what it holds. And so therefore, whatever you decide to do with your money is a personal choice, and you have to understand or try to understand as much as you can to make the right choice with your money to better your future. Here on this channel, I try to make sure that I give you opportunity to be well informed about the different options that you have, and then you can go ahead and do what you would like to do in your personal finance journey. Hi, I'm Mike, and in this channel, I try to take you along on my personal finance journey and the things that I'm utilizing to try and captivate a very good retirement for myself and set myself up in a way that I will not be in the poorhouse for too long, if that makes sense. With any and all the decisions that I make, I hope to try and let you learn or let you see those different decisions in real time, and therefore you can make better informed and better decisions for yourself in your own personal finance journey. If that sounds interesting, if you want to hit the like button or the sub button, that would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, let's get into 401ks. Okay, so you're here to learn about 401ks. What is it? How does it work? What on earth are you doing with it? Well, maybe you don't want to know about that last one, but I can tell you a little bit about the first two and try and give you a little bit better information on where or what you should be doing with your money and how all those things are affected, or at least the implications of how, or the decisions that you make, how your money will affect yourself in the future. Being that it is a personal finance journey, it is up to you to prevent forest fires. I mean, it's up to you to make the decisions what you want to do with your money in your personal finance journey. Okay, so 401k. This is what the IRS says about the 401k plan. A 401k plan is a qualified plan that includes a feature allowing an employee to elect to have the employer contribute a portion of the employee's wages to an individual account under that plan. The underlying plan can be a profit sharing, stock bonus, pre-ERISA, money purchase pension, or a rural cooperative plan. Generally, deferred wages, elective deferrals, are not subject to federal income tax withholdings at the time of the deferral, and they are not reported as taxable income on the employee's individual income tax return. 401k plans are permitted to allow employees to designate some of their elected deferrals as Roth elective deferrals that are generally subject to taxation under the rules applicable to Roth IRAs. Roth deferrals are included in the employee's taxable income for the year that the deferral occurs. Okay, so let's try and break this down into more layman terms that will be easier to understand. Basically, a 401k is a plan procured by your employer to allow you to defer some of your wages for working into a savings account that can be utilized to have tax advantages. There are 3 different types of 401k plans. Of course, these are set up by your employer, so your employer will have the burden of actually determining what type of plan they should give. But I will give you an understanding of what the 3 are and how they impact you when you're participating in these different plans. Understand that there are many rules and regulations that your employer must follow when it comes to setting up or giving these plans. So not every single situation is going to seem ideal for you, but it is what your employer has deemed necessary for their company. And therefore, you're kind of at the whims of what your employer has decided. as with most things when working for somebody. Now, basically, there are three types of 401k plans. There's the traditional 401k, a safe harbor 401k, and a simple 401k. Most people and employers are going to be utilizing a traditional 401k plan. These are going to be set up by your employer, but are subject to rules and regulations set up by the IRS to ensure that there's fair and equitable treatment across employees that your employer contributes to. This is basically shareholding that, like, the CEO doesn't get an unequitable or unfair contribution from the company on their behalf compared to just some low-level employee. Percentages have to max. I'm not exactly sure all the different details, but anyway, just know that the IRS is supposed to be looking out for you so that there isn't some sort of exorbitantly wrong stipulation that happens for higher executive or C-suite type employees. Okay, so with that, your employer is going to set up a ground rule or a set of different requirements for you. They can choose whether they want to have matching contributions where you put in a certain amount and then they put in a certain amount, because that's just incentive for you to participate in the plan. The employer can actually just contribute straight on your behalf and you don't have to do anything, and they just give you money. I've experienced that myself. It's actually very, very wonderful. And then there's, things like vesting schedules, in which you have to work so long to be able to get those employer contributions. All those things are tied up in the plan in the literature that is conducted and submitted to the IRS to say, hey, this is what we're doing for this benefit, and this is how this works. It's all set in stone, and the literature should be out there that you can access at any time. Each employer is going to have a little bit different take on how they want to implement this. Some people will do a 3% match or a 4% match, or maybe do a 50% match on the first 4% or 3%, or however they want to do it. I personally am working right now for a 100% match on 6%, which is absolutely fantastic. I love it. Absolutely great. I did work for a company prior, or before this employer, that would just give contributions outside of anything that I needed to do, which was also very, very, very generous. It was great. It then turns into vesting schedules, in which the former employer had a 2-year vesting schedule, and then I believe my new employer has like a 5-year vesting schedule, in which you only are able to take a percentage of the employer's contributions based on how many years you've worked. Okay, so that's a typical traditional 401k. A lot of people are going to be underneath that. There are two other types. There's a safe harbor and a simple. The safe harbor is going to be a 401k plan that is required to have the employer contributions be 100% vested, meaning the amount that the employer puts into the account is given directly to you at the time that contribution happens. If so, that's basically like a little bit extra pay for you. It is tied up until you're 59 and a half. More on that to come, but it's free money. The third type of 401k is just a simple 401k. This is a small business venture to try and give retirement benefits to their employees. The company has to have less than 100 employees that are receiving compensation of $5,000 for the year. The simple 401k does not have the test and regulations that a traditional 401k has in making sure that there are fair and equitable outcomes for employees. But it also has the safe harbor 100% investment, so there is no vesting schedule that happens in years of service. Okay, so those are the types of 401k plans that are out there according to the IRS. But let's move into how those 401k plans are used and how they function. All right, so first off, let's look at the different types of contributions that you can put into your 401k. There are 3 different types. There's a pre-tax, a Roth, and an after-tax type of contribution. Now, each one of these has a different rules and regulations around what happens with that money and how it actually grows toward retirement. Let's first take the pre-tax contributions. Now, the way the pre-tax contributions works is obviously that there is a pre-tax element to it. You are taking money that the employer is going to give you for wages, and you're saying, hey, I want to take these pre-tax, and before we tax my income, let's put this in this account, and I'm going to move my tax burden into later years. If you've seen the IRA video that I have up, I go over that in kind of good detail. Basically, I put in $1,000, it grows to $5,000. When I pull it out in retirement, I get taxed at $5,000. Now, the good thing about this is that if I'm making $10,000 this year, and I put in $1,000 into the 401k, then I'm only going to have $9,000 be on my income tax this year. So this can be very powerful if you want to try and move your tax burden to a later year. Most of the time this would occur if you're thinking your tax burden is going to be greater now and then it will be less in the future. If that's the case, that would be probably the proper way that you would want to do that in the future, is that the money, basically your money is taxed in different buckets. And so if the amount that you're contributing is higher in the higher bracket of income, basically you're in the 24 percentile bucket or the 30 percentile bucket, whatever you want to put it at. But when you go into retirement, your income is only going to be in the 10% or 12%. You can actually save and defer that amount so that in retirement, you're paying less money than you would if you would take it as taxable income in your working years. Let's be honest, not many of us are going to be in that situation. So I believe that deferring the tax burden to later may not be the most advantage position, but that's just from a personal standpoint. I can't tell you whether or not that's actually true. Taxes generally go up over time, right? You get taxed more the later you live. So just understand that that's usually the case. And you make a decision for yourself. Now, these traditional contributions are going to have you hit a locking mechanism to 59.5. Now, the reason that happens is because when you put in the pre-tax or the pre-tax money and it grows, you're gonna have to wait till 59.5 to be able to take that money out or be able to distribute that money because it hasn't been taxed yet. If you do take the money out before 59.5, there is a penalty that gets incurred and it gets taxed at the amount that you pull it out at. Something to take into mind or keep in mind when making the decision on where you want to put that money. The second type of contribution is a Roth contribution. Now, these are after tax, so you're accepting the tax burden right now in this year, and that money goes in and grows tax-free. So anything that money produces while being invested in the stock market would allow you to actually pull that money out in retirement tax-free. The cool part about Roth contributions is that the money that you put in has already been taxed. So those contributions are able to be pulled out at any time and utilized however you seem fit. But none of the growth can be put into or can be pulled from that account until 59.5, unless you wish to incur the tax and a penalty off taking those out. Just like the traditional, those funds are basically going to be tied up for 59.5, unless it's just taking out the contributions of the Roth. Same with the traditional. The Roth IRA and traditional are both considered deferral contributions, which have a limit cap in the year of 2024 to be $23,000. That's a lot of money. I don't think many people will have to be worried about trying to hit $23,000 limit. But if you are in the case that you have an exorbitantly high income, there is a limit on both of those types to $23,000. Now, with the Roth contributions, if your $1,000 grows to $5,000, that means you get $5,000 tax free. Well, you paid $1,000 taxes, but that extra $4,000 tax free. It's very nice. I will also put a caveat that the simple 401k tax, or the limit that you can contribute to a simple 401k, is only $16,000. These contribution limits do increase year to year due to cost of living increases, or they do fluctuate at least. So just recognize that could be a thing that changes from year to year. Just know that in 2024, there is a $23,000 limit for the traditional 401k and the Safe Harbor 401k. A simple 401k has a limit of $16,000. Okay, now before I forget, there is a third option that happens for contributions into the 401k plan, and these are after-tax contributions. And these run a little bit differently. You kind of think, oh, well, that's kind of like Roth. Well, not specifically. So the way that after-tax contributions work is they do not hit the $23,000 limit. There is an exorbitant limit of like $69,000 that has to happen across all of your accounts. So all of the transactions in the 401k. This would be your deferrals, your contributions period, the employer matches, the employer contributions, any of those things can have to be below 69,000. But anyway, back to after-tax contributions. After-tax contributions allow you to put in money after tax, meaning that they are able to be withdrawn, the contributions, at any time up into at any time that you want to utilize them. After-tax contributions growth is actually taxed in retirement, and that's the reason that they wouldn't hit that 23,000 limit that the Roth and traditional contributions do hit. Now, while we're on the subject of limits, there is something, a caveat for people who are over the age of 50. Basically, there are something called catch-up contributions that allow those limits to be increased by $7,500 for the year of 2024. Obviously, this changes again. The IRS allows for more as cost of living goes up. They allow for more contributions to happen. So anyway, that $7,500 would go onto that $23,000 limit for the traditional and safe harbor plans. The simple gets an extra $3,500, so that $16,000 goes up to like $19,500. Just something to be aware of if you are over the age of 50. Of course, these are all subject to the employer's plan. If the employer's plan doesn't allow for this sort of stuff, then it doesn't actually, it isn't actually applicable. Okay, let's look at the last little tidbit of the 401k plans, and those are required minimum distributions. Basically, the government wants some of your money because if you have done pre-tax donations, they want to tax that growth as you pull it out and get their money before you pass on or anything like that. So basically, the rule is that if you are 72 years of age, that is when required minimum distributions are required for you. But that has now shifted to the age of 73. Basically, in the sense, after December 31st of 2022, if you have not turned 72 by December 31st of 2022, then you will be required at the age of 73. So basically, right now, if you are not 72, right now, if you are not 72 yet, then your age of limit is 73. Boy, that was a lot of words to get nowhere. Anyway, that's the last little tidbit. There are required minimum distributions. The IRS does give worksheets and ways to calculate what your required minimum distributions are for your account. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. This video has gone on for an exorbitantly long amount of time, so I'm not going to get into the details of how to calculate any of those. Talk to a certified professional accountant in order for you to get those numbers correct and not incur any penalties or any of that sort of stuff when it comes to dealing with the IRS. But just know that that is a caveat on the 401k. And so with that, let's take a look at my personal finance journey and how I'm utilizing the 401k, because that's what we're doing here, is following along in my footsteps to hopefully give you a little bit of an informed decision. I do utilize a 401k plan from my employer. This allows me to decrease my tax burden every single year, which is fantastic. And it also allows me to grow my money in the stock market on a tax advantaged account. Currently, I am utilizing a pre-tax contribution. After researching this and understanding, I do have the Roth implications that seem way more interesting to me than the pre-tax. But anywho, that is currently what's happening. I do get a 6% match that I talked about earlier, and that's fully there. It's free money, so I put in at least 6% and I get that. I am putting in more than 6% just because I want to try and make sure that my compounding strength or compound growth over time is given time to actually mature and go. So the more that you put in, the more that you're going to be able to grow it, and it's the faster it will grow. And so I'm trying to capitalize on that. But with that, I think I'm going to stop the video there. It's been quite the long endeavor. If you learned anything, if you enjoyed this content, you want to stick around, think about hitting that sub button. The like button is appreciated. Give me a comment down below if you have questions or want me to explain anything further. I do appreciate your review. We're just getting started around here. The plane's taking off, so hop aboard. Should be pretty fun, pretty good. I give out a video every single Monday on Monday mornings, and so stick around. Hopefully that's something that interests you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.